Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, Tim and I are going to talk about what 20 plus years of triathlon has taught us about confidence. And I should say it's 20 plus years of triathlon for me. It's probably been 30 for you. And we're not including running races, just 10Ks and marathons.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of years of training for and competing in races.
Late 80s, I think, is when
That's
it started.
when you started.
Yeah, 87, let's say 88.
When no one even really knew what a triathlon was.
When Bud Light was the sponsor of Chicago.
Bud Light was the sponsor
That
of
was
Chicago
classic. I
Triathlon.
wish I had that shirt.
And
so.
pierogies, Mrs. T's pierogies.
Mrs. T's and Bud Light
was
or whatever
the
it was.
sponsor
Yeah.
of the triathlon. Chicago, for those of you who don't know, is a heavily Polish city. A lot of huge Polish community here. And they were a sponsor.
Yeah.
So eat those pierogies, carbo load, and then go do the race the next day.
That's back when the swim for that race, you swam out around the peninsula of the Oceanarium, which is so dangerous.
Where the aquarium.
Or the aquarium, sorry,
Yeah.
Oceanarium. Where am I at? Orlando? Yeah, the aquarium. You swim out around that.
That's pretty scary. And
Super scary.
that intimidates me to think about doing that because that's pretty far out.
It's far out,
in
and the
Lake
waves
Michigan.
are hitting that cement wall and bouncing right back. It's like you were swimming in a washing machine.
washing
It's
machine.
crazy.
And Lake Michigan, people don't realize these Great Lakes. Lake Michigan has some of the worst riptides in the country, worse than the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans on the coast. Every year, unfortunately, somebody drowns in Lake Michigan because of the riptides pulling people under.
Multiple times.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So that scares me thinking about swimming out there.
Yeah.
Now it's along the breakwall.
It's
Now
a little
just
more
lakefront.
protected. Yeah, you're in the harbor. It's a little bit better.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm bringing this back because not bringing it back, I'm bringing it up. And we're talking about it specifically on the podcast today because I don't know how much people realize. Some of my clients do, but I don't think people realize how much sport has informed me and about how I have grown, what I've learned and the knowledge I've gained from being an athlete and how that has absolutely directed me as, of course, a personal development coach and now a high performance coach, but also as a therapist. It's just a part of who I am.
Yeah.
And it informs everything that I do, really. But I don't talk about it enough. So I think that we're gonna do that today.
I think it's going to be interesting because you're going to come from the perspective of receiving coaching in this case. Very different than how you normally talk, right?
Yeah, how I've been coached.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk about my triathlon coaches. I'm not going to talk as much. I won't talk about my business coaches, my life coaches, and I won't talk about my therapy, the therapy I've been in. So if you all want me to speak about that, I'm in up a book. I'm happy to speak about that in another episode and how that has changed me and what it's done for me. The ups and the downs of it. There's great parts of it and there's not so great parts of it. Okay, so the first question I want to start with is, I got this all the time. I don't think you did. I got this all the time. So for 10 of those 20 years, I was dialed in, meaning I was being coached because I'd say the first 7 to 10 years I was self-coaching, but doing it on my own, reading plans out of Triathlon magazine or renting books or buying books and just doing, and you were way ahead of me in triathlon. So I would just go along with what you were doing. I would swim your swims. I would run, bike with you. I didn't really know what to do on the bike at that time on the trainer. I didn't know what to do with power watts. Don't even think in the very beginning I had a power meter. I would just self-coach and then I would run with you and we would do intervals. I wouldn't really, it was just kind of haphazard, and like, just get out there. But 10 years of doing that and having 5 kids together and working a full-time job, I look back and I don't know how I did it. I think no wonder I decided, I got to dial this in. If I'm going to stay in this and I want to get better, I need to pay somebody to help me because what happened was I got tired of always coming in 4th, 5th, and 6th in my age group and thought I could do better. But let's go back to what got me thinking about this episode today. For so many years, people would say to me in year 10 to 20, why do you do triathlons? You're not a professional. Well, why are you doing this? You spend so much time on this. You're not a professional. You're not being paid for this. Friends ask me that. Acquaintances ask me that. Neighbors ask me that. Family members ask me that. Complete strangers that I would meet at a party, a cocktail party, would ask me, why do you do that? And it would take me aback. I mean, I'd be a little defensive, but mostly, oh, you're not an athlete. You have no idea. You can't, you're not. So you don't know. Because I think for those of us who are athletic and competing in some form of race or some sort of competition, those of us, we get it. We understand. They're not the ones who asked me that question. It's people, it's funny that I think about it now.
Yeah.
None of these people were triathletes. And then when I started this podcast, what did I get all the time? The badass confidence coach. Remember in the very beginning, back in 2019 and 2020, this was the real therapist. Remember that? It
That
was
was,
it
yeah,
was a
you're
real
right.
therapist. I still have the photo up that was the original photo
Yeah.
from the podcast. And then I got coaching around it. I hired a business coach to help me with my brand. COVID hit and I had more time and I could finally focus on the brand. And we had this conversation one day about being a badass. And I said to her, my clients are badasses. These are these people who don't realize how I look at them, how I see them, that and they're coming to me, whether it be a therapy client or a coaching client, many of them are coming to me frustrated, some sort of pain, maybe psychic pain, not physical pain, but emotional pain, sort of mentally struggling with their businesses, or they just got fired or laid off and they don't know what to do next, or they're looking at retirement or they're dealing with a clinical depression, they're dealing with anxiety or trauma. And as I got to know them and I started to understand more about them and their lives, I would think to myself, well, you're a total badass. Look at what you've done. They would see the glass half empty and I'd be talking about the glass half full. And a mother of 8 kids who is, dealing with a wayward husband, somebody who had horrible, horrible abuse as a child that they had never spoken of before. And looking at them today, married and parenting 3 kids, trauma's coming up now and they're dealing with it with me.
Yeah.
I'm a trauma therapist. Did a lot of that work and thinking you're a badass. And I would tell them and they're like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? I'm a badass. Look at what you've been through. But they would say to me, who do you think you are? Because what happened was, so my one of my business coaches said, why we're having these conversations I'm having with you and all of you on the podcast and
Wait,
YouTube right
who
now.
would say, who do you
My
think you
business
are?
coach. Oh, my
A client would say that?
people about the badass piece.
Well, you just said they would say, who do you think you are? Who said
When
that?
it came to being
Yeah.
badass confidence coach. When I'm sorry,
okay,
I
okay.
jumped ahead.
Okay.
When I changed the name. So my business coach said to me,
okay.
why are you calling yourself the real therapist, Anna? Half of your practice is coaching.
Yeah.
And we just had a conversation about all your clients and you're telling me what a badass they are. I did not know about Jen Sincero's book, You're a Badass. I didn't know about that book. I had a client back in 2017 or 18 brought the book into my office and said to me, I love this book. I'm just started reading it. I'm like, that's cool. Neat. That's a great book. And it was kind of in the back of my mind. I'm like, oh, that's so interesting because I tell my clients all the time, or I think to myself, you're a badass. And that client in particular, I'm like, you're a total badass. She's like, I'm reading that book. I'm like, oh, I never heard of it.
Yeah.
So fast forward to 2019, I'm talking to my business coach and she's like, you just were telling me this, all these people. And half of your practice is coaching. You're not just a real therapist. Okay, you're real, you're down to earth. And you're going to talk about things on the podcast, which was planned for late 2019. You're going to talk about things that maybe other therapists don't talk about and you want to pay it forward. Great. But you're a badass. And I'm like, okay, well, she's like, no, you're a badass. You need to change. You're also a coach. So why are you not saying that? Because I was like, stay small. Don't really talk about all that. Don't be cocky. Don't say you're a badass. She's like, you're a badass and start to embrace it. So I
Yeah.
changed it. Remember this? I
Yeah.
changed it in early 2020
Yeah.
with this business coach. I changed everything. And after that, people would say to me, and the interesting thing when I was really getting into this yesterday, when I was doing the work on this, the people who asked me, who do you think you are? So do you think you're a badass? Were men. It was always men. No woman, no female friend, family member. No one ever said to me as a woman, like, why do you call it that? It was, sorry guys, but it was all men. But if a man called himself a badass, other men wouldn't say to him, bruh, who do you well, you're not badass. What do you think you're badass? Like,
Yeah.
oh, you call yourself a badass? No dude would say to another dude or call him out on the name of his podcast or ask him about the name of his business as an entrepreneur. But I got asked that question. Do you remember? I remember it being
Yeah.
like, why are these men like who do you think you are calling yourself so do you think you're a badass? I'm like, yeah, I think I'm a badass. But this is really a sort of a love letter to my former clients who I told them they were
Right.
badasses.
Well, I think you can also interpret the name of the business the opposite way, right? You're coaching badass confidence. Like it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're badass, right? It doesn't have to mean that at all as the coach. That's the way I always have
Right.
taken it. You're coaching somebody to have badass confidence,
Yes.
right? That
Yes.
really is the message.
Because the original message was you come to my office back then. It was all in my office, right?
Yeah.
There's no Zoom. You come to me in my office and you're telling me all that I'm listening to about your life and how difficult it is and dealing with your depression, your anxiety, your trauma, and your past eating disorder and all these failed relationships and not being able to find love. Look at what you've done.
Yeah.
Look at what you have done. I'm like in awe of that. I am in awe of you and you're a badass and don't forget it.
Yeah.
So
let me ask you
go
a
ahead.
question live in front of everybody. Which was it when you picked the name? Badass confidence coach. Was it influenced mostly by your clients or was it influenced mostly by what you thought
I
of
would say it's
yourself?
50-50 because my business coach was like, you're a badass.
Okay.
And you look at because I was wearing, I never forget this. It was on Zoom and I was wearing, because she's in another part of the country. I had on a t-shirt. I think it was on black. I had a black t-shirt on. I think it had Blondie, Blondie, the band.
Yeah.
Had a picture of Blondie on it or something with badass. And she was like, look at you. She's like, you're a triathlete. You're wearing a black t-shirt that says Blondie. She's like, you're a badass. And you've been doing therapy and coaching people for, at that point, it was like 20 years you've been doing this.
Yeah.
You're a badass. Anna, it's not just your clients. You are. Time to start accepting that and take it in. I'm like, oh yeah. Because I was like, stay small, stay small. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's, but here's the thing is that there's questions when people say that to me, why are you so serious about triathlon? You're not getting paid. You're not a professional. Why do you call your podcast a badass confidence coach? Like, who do you think you are? I was a little taken aback by it, but it didn't really bother me. I'd make comments to you like, so-and-so just asked me that question. Like, I can't kind of surprised at that, right? I think it's because, and I thought about this last night, if you're living in a culture where you don't make money from something, then it's not really worth it. If you're not like the absolute best at something, you're not the best, Anna. You didn't become a pro triathlete. You're not that talented. You're not that fast. You're not that great. Like my former coaches have been former professional triathletes. No, I was never like them. So why are you putting why bother? Why are you putting all this time and energy into it? And I just couldn't find the words because I remember not knowing how to answer. First of all, I was surprised at people's hubris at asking me that question. And I didn't know how to answer because I thought, you don't get me. You don't get this. I never looked at life sort of that way, right? I mean, triathlon was the best classroom I think I could have ever been in. And I don't know what you would say about that, but that was the best classroom for me. Not because it made me a tougher person, not because it made me faster, because it taught me something about confidence. It taught me about discipline, really taught me a lot about discipline. And it taught me a lot about emotional intelligence that I use every single day today with my therapy and coaching clients, with both of them. Just yesterday, I was talking with a therapy client who has an anxiety disorder. It's gotten a lot better. And she had something happen. I don't see her every week now. I see her twice a month. And she had something happen with an employer, a boss. And she's back to the old stuff of getting triggered. And she's like, I'm like, all right, let's go back to it. We're doing a tune-up. And we're going back to remember who you are. So I teach her the skills that I teach my clients and coaching clients too. I teach them both the exact same skills when it comes to anxiety. We went over the skills again. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that. I remember. Okay. Like you could, now you got them back on. You've reloaded.
Mm.
You've got them back on board. Remember that toolbox. Go back into the toolbox. Pull those out. When you can't sleep at 2 a.m., pull them out. And remember who you are. You've come so far. This is, don't let this person who's a little sadistic,
Yeah.
boss of yours, don't let it get to you. Don't let it get. And I said a lot more than that. I'm just generalizing for the episode today. You're a badass. But that comes from years of what triathlon taught me about confidence and emotional intelligence, discipline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're going to talk about this. What 2+ decades for both of us has taught us and how it has affected us when it comes to work.
Yeah. I mean, I would be interested to hear you drill down a little deeper than that.
I'm going to.
I mean, get into, there's a lot of different types of or moments of confidence that you could take away from all those years, right? Just in your personal life and things that you do on a daily basis, maybe relationship building, maybe, a business decision. But there's also things that you take away as a coach, right? Things that you learned from being coached, right?
Yeah.
Which your perspective is going to be way different than mine on that.
And I'm just talking about triathlon because before triathlon, I was serious into the equestrian world. I was hunter jumper, dressage, and then I went to hunter jumper riding, but it got way too expensive.
Yeah.
So that's my, to be honest with you, I mean, that's my true love. I love triathlon, but I love horses, all things horses. And if I could be on a 10-acre farm and just be riding, I'd be doing that every day, all day. That's my love. So I had coaches. I was coached there. That was different. That was hard. Those are the toughest coaches, and those are the meanest coaches. Those are the meanest freaking coaches.
Yeah.
Who had a whole different psychology about how to coach people and instruct people, really kind of by putting you down, making you feel like shit.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, that is an episode also unto itself of how I don't coach and how I don't work with clients, but I want to tell everybody out there that's coaching that doesn't work, and especially in the question world that doesn't work. And I think it's changed a lot, but you don't use sarcasm and yelling at people like, "What's wrong with you? Did your brain not work? I told you to get your heels down further." Okay. Kind of like shaming you into submission, shaming you into changing the way you ride or the way you sit in the seat, way the position your legs are in, your heels are down, where your hands are, and what you're communicating to the horse. You don't shame people into that, but that was a lot of the MO 25 years ago plus.
Well, it's a lot of it in other sports today.
Yeah, and maybe not in the United States, but other parts of the country, that is still how people coach across all sports.
Yeah.
And it's accepted. Okay, so one thing I want to start with, those of you who know me and you hear me on the podcast, you're watching me on YouTube, or you've worked with me. I had a discovery call a few weeks ago with a woman. She goes, "You're like a super badass." She's like, "I discovered your podcast, and you're just like, this, you're super badass." And I thought, and I do hear that, and it's a great compliment. And I thought to myself, I wasn't always this way. I was not always this way. I wasn't always. Thank God, literally, thank God. I think I was blessed with self-esteem. I always had pretty good self-esteem, and not cocky, because you also got to balance by that Catholic upbringing of don't get a big head and humility is everything.
Yeah.
But I always felt pretty good about who I was as a person. But I wasn't disciplined, and I was not a disciplined kid, and I wasn't a disciplined adolescent, and I wasn't a standout athlete. I played softball and basketball in grade school, middle school. I played basketball in high school. And I was disciplined until I was always on the bench, and then I quit. I quit basketball my sophomore year.
No confidence.
I didn't have confidence, and I also knew I didn't have talent. And I was going to camps in the summer.
We can talk more about that.
I was going to basketball camps. I was doing the things in the summer. I just wasn't as good as the girls on my team. I went to high school where the basketball team was the best in the area. And there's no way. I mean, there's just no way. I wasn't tall. I was a forward. I just wasn't good enough. And so I gave it up. But I was good at softball. It was okay, good at basketball. I mean, I made the JV basketball team. But I wasn't disciplined. And because I was just very much an average athlete and didn't seem to have a huge interest in huge interest in sports at that time in my life. I mean, I'm one of 8 kids, and I had 4 brothers who were playing sports, who my were I had a couple of my siblings who were really good athletes, and my dad poured time and energy into them because, they're my dad worked full time. My mom was a full-time stay-at-home mom with a big house and 8 kids and 2 dogs, and it was a lot, and all that goes gosh, all that went into taking care of that home. And I think if you didn't show talent, my mom and dad just didn't have the time to put into you.
Hmm.
They did take me to the camps. I got into carpools, the basketball camps, but they saw talent in other people and that energy went towards them. It wasn't going to be towards me.
Hmm.
And you got that message. You got that message that you just you're average, you're middle of the road. So you got that message. So, it was like, well, why should I put time and energy into me? You're one of 2 kids and you're an only boy and you like sports and you love basketball. And I think your mom and dad loved that you love sports. Sports was a wonderful divergence from the rest of everything that could be distracting you
Sure.
in life.
Yeah.
So, they could put that time and energy into you.
Yeah.
And they loved sports and valued it, and so did you.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of energy and effort put into you playing
Right.
basketball.
And so
Did you go to camps in the summer? Did you do all that extra
yeah,
stuff?
every
Yeah.
summer. Yeah. Yeah. All the way through high school. That's how it was. But I think so there's going to be some family of origin for you in particular influence in this conversation, right? Because
Discipline.
your push from a confidence point of view, which is what we're talking about, early on was not a push. It was a pull, right? You were not being built up or encouraged or you were looked at quickly. It's kind of like going to a mini camp, in whatever sport, and like there's 100 athletes there and they show up and it's going to be quick assessment. It sounds like that's what it was with you. Quick assessment. Nope. You're going to the left. Everybody else is going to the right. Right. It sounds like that.
If you were talented and they thought you had potential, you'd go to the left.
Yeah.
Everybody else went to the right. Well, it probably didn't help when in 7th grade I scored a basketball. I scored a point for the opposing team because I shot the wrong net. And my dad was laughing.
I heard the story.
The one time my dad came, he was busy. He was going to, they did their best. I don't fault him for that. They would come to some of my games. My dad was laughing so hard at me scoring a point for the opposing team. I looked over, I saw him laughing. He was crying, laughing. And then I look over and he's like lying down with his face on the bleachers. He's like lying on the bleachers, still laughing. It's more than 5 minutes later. The game continued on. And I'm like, stop, Dad. Like now he's making a scene. He can't get over that I just did that. He thought it was the funniest thing. And I get, they call timeout and I go over to the bleachers and this is like 7th or 8th grade, all my like best friends, my basketball team was like all my best friends, like, Anna, your dad, he's crying, laughing. And all my, like, your dad, like, look at him. He almost fell off because they're sitting on the bench. Like, we're watching your dad. He almost fell off the bleachers. I'm like,
that's good.
Okay. And like, oh my gosh, your dad. I'm like, Dad, stop. He thought that was he thought it was comedy hour. Anyway, so that was that. So it did. I mean, I thought it was funny too, but it certainly didn't build me up. It's like it was my fatal flaw.
Do you have memories of that play?
Yeah, I do.
How'd it go?
I thought I was badass because I stole the ball.
So you stole
and I went
the ball.
running down the court. Yeah, and scored the basket.
Wait, you stole
for the opposing
ball.
team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went the opposite direction.
But okay. We'd have to draw it up. I mean, it seems to me if you stole the ball.
Just stole the ball, got the ball, and instead I stole the ball, it would run in the opposite direction.
Okay.
And did a layup. Yeah. And the other team's like, yay! It was terrible.
That's funny.
But anyway, whatever. I mean, but what it taught, I wasn't disciplined. And when I got to high school, I quit basketball my sophomore year. It was exhausting. It was driving 45 minutes from my home to Washington, D.C., Georgetown, where I went to high school. Next visitation next to Georgetown University. It was 45 minutes in traffic one way, and then 45 minutes at night coming out in that DC traffic. Then I had all these hours of studying. Went to a really hard high school. Hours and hours of studying. I was exhausted all the time. I lost a crap ton of weight because I never ate. It was just working out and practicing, and just it was a hard time in my life as a sophomore. I was going to be 15, turning 16. I quit basketball. In some ways, that really wasn't the best thing for me. Well, in a lot of ways, it wasn't the best thing for me because once I quit basketball, and the coach was really mad at me. I remember that, and she called me and wanted me to meet her. It was like over like Christmas vacation, and I was supposed to go down with the team with the team I was carpooling with to go and meet her. I'm like, I quit. I'm not practicing today. I'm not getting, I'm just wearing sweats. I'm not wearing short. I'm not wearing whatever, I'm not wearing workout clothes or to practice with the team. And I didn't go. And the whole team's like, she is so mad at you. She's so mad at you. I never saw her again, except when I went to games and I'd like hang back because I didn't want her to see me. I would go and watch the games. She's so mad at me. She wanted me to follow through. And she was right. She was right.
Yeah.
But I wasn't, I started to lose I started to lose my commitment and my care and my discipline. I didn't care anymore. So what happened though was that's January. I get my license. I'm 16. I have a car to drive because my parents want me to start driving. My sister and I, whatever, for whatever reasons, we finally got a car. And that's when I really got into my social life, my friends, underage drinking. People were drinking in high school, 16, and we were underage drinking. There are a lot of houses. The parents are gone the weekends, had second homes, and we were partying. And that's what I got into.
Mm.
So I completely left the world of sport. And I think I partied more in high school than I did almost in college. By the time I got to my freshman year of college, I was wiped. I was tired. I was tired
There you
because it
go.
was some hard partying in
Yeah.
high school. I mean, I had a great time. I had a lot of fun and I love to laugh and I love to play pranks on people and jokes. And I have some great memories of my friends and all my guy friends. I had a ton of guy friends. And those were great memories. I would just wish there was more in there, but I completely let go of sport, almost like an effort to myself and an effort to sport because it was so hard for me for so many years because I was around people who were really, really good. So all this to say, I didn't have discipline. I just completely and I wasn't lazy. It was quite the opposite, but discipline was just something I decided to let go of. It wasn't part of my identity, and I think that for me and for many of you, I was a late bloomer. I bloomed late and I was also in many ways immature, but I think it was my attention deficit with us undiagnosed. So I had ADHD and I became more mature and serious later. Probably when I was 18, my senior year, I started to like calm down a little bit. I knew that I had a bad reputation with the teachers and the nuns. I went to an all girl Catholic high school. A lot of the nuns loved me, and they were the best. That's the thing. People talk about like these nuns that they grew up with. That's never been my experience. I mean, I've had nuns since I was in first grade. My first grade teacher was a nun, Sister Noel. My sixth grade teacher was Sister Teresa. The principal, Sister Lucy. I mean, nuns have been a wonderful, wonderful part of my life growing up. Appreciated who I was as an individual, my personality, saw me for who I was, saw my uniqueness, and would talk about it. And you talk to me about like calming down because I was so
Yeah.
hyper and always getting in trouble. But they really treated me well. It was the lay teachers in high school that really hated me because I had a bad reputation because I was a prankster. I was using the elevator, the 200-year-old elevator that only nuns could use. I would use it, put all my friends in it. I was always doing crazy stuff. I was always doing crazy stuff and getting into trouble. So I had a bad reputation. By my senior year, my second semester, so I wasn't disciplined. All that to say, by my second semester senior year, I started to kind of grow up and I started to realize that, oh, these teachers don't like me. And they're all talking in the teacher's lunchroom about what a pain in the ass Anna Marceline was, what a brat she was.
Yeah.
I was probably a pain for those teachers, right?
Yeah.
And then like the college years, I continued to party, wasn't working out, had nothing with sport, nothing, not even doing any fitness until probably my junior year. I'd gained a ton of weight my freshman and sophomore year, the freshman 15, partying a lot, smoking a lot of weed, and then ordering pizza at Domino's at midnight, ordering from Milano's, our young malicious place at University of Dayton, where we would order late night potato skins, loaded potato skins, yum. And you're coming from late at night from the bars or partying and eating a load of potato skins. How much longer can you do that? We came home.
Yeah.
So Maria, my sister, was a year behind me, sophomore year. She's a freshman. My dad came home and he goes, "You girls are, what do you say? Because you girls have the biggest butts," or something like, Be quiet, Dad.
Wasn't that a song?
I don't know. The Big Butts? That was
Got
Big
big,
Butts was
got
a
big butt,
sketch on SNL
and
in
they
the
do not
70s.
deny or something like that. I
The
forget.
the Big Butts was a
Yeah,
sketch in SNL.
yeah,
Yeah, they should bring that back. So, and I remember my mom's like, "You girls have to go to diet," because we'd gained so much weight. And then my junior year, I just lost weight when I go home and have my mother's amazing Mediterranean Italian cooking that I just naturally lost weight. Wasn't working out though. Still not doing any exercise.
yeah.
And then I lost weight my junior year when I studied abroad in Italy and started to get into that lifestyle of all the walking and amazing food we ate, and then got on a rickety old not treadmill, bike. My junior year, I lived in an apartment with three of my sorority sisters and got on one of their rickety old bikes and told myself I had to be on this 5 days a week for 30 minutes. And then I started to lose weight. But that was just to lose weight and to get fitter. My senior year, I started taking step aerobics because that was all the
Mm,
rage. Step aerobics. My housemate, senior year, Lynette was a aerobics instructor, and she'd make me go with her. I'd be lying in bed sleeping. I mean, I studied. I was doing an internship. I worked in a 60-bed neonatal unit. That was a tough internship. My gosh. I worked a 60-bed neonatal unit. I was good at what I did. I was really good. My boss, my supervisor was like, "Oh, you're going to be working?" She's like, "I'm going to take the day off. You got it, Anna." I was 21 and 22 years old, and I was the social worker counselor in that 60-bed neonatal unit.
mm,
There was a helipad above the NICU. And so when I wasn't working, I was like usually lying in bed or studying. And she's like, "Get up. You're coming. Get up." And I tell you, there's a lot to that. There's a lesson in that. And I often think about that. Someone's saying, "Get up. Let's go. Go. Let's
yeah,
go." And she got me going. And then I was hooked because I loved the class and I loved that I was feeling better and I lost a little bit more weight and I loved how I looked. And so I continued to go. And then I continued into it my grad school years, but not athlete, not sport, just taking step aerobics classes. Didn't
yeah.
lift weights, didn't run. And it wasn't until after I had my first kid that my sisters were running a 10K together. My older sister had always been a runner, and they were running a 10K. And I was like, "What do you mean you're running a 10K? Like, what's a 10K?" They're like 6.2 miles. I'm like, "Wait, you guys can run 6.2. You could run 6 miles?" And Maria, who's a year younger than me, I'm like, "Wait, I know Maria could run 6 miles." I knew Carla could because she'd been running, most of my life, but Maria can run 6 miles. And I was like, "Oh, well, if they could do it." And I was a little envious because they were doing it together. They were training together, running this race together. I thought, well, they can do it. I can do it. So I was 27. After Marissa was born, I started running. And I tell people this. That's the first time really I got dialed in and had goals and I was disciplined. I started to develop a little bit myself my senior year when Lynette would make me get up and go with her to step aerobics. So I was disciplined. I was disciplined in going to step aerobics like 3 times a week. And then when I was in grad school, moved to Chicago, it was 5 times a week.
Yeah.
I would go. And I was disciplined about that ish. Cause if I didn't go, I didn't go. If I went, I went. I would try to go, but I wasn't crazy, wasn't disciplined. I didn't think I was disciplined about it. It wasn't until my sisters were running together, I got a little envious and I thought, I can't believe they can run 6 miles.
Mm,
That's when I started. And I started doing the walk jog. I walked and jogged. I'd like, "Okay, Anna, just jog to that next telephone pole. Jog to that, now walk, now jog to that stop sign." That's how I started.
yeah.
I was 27 years old, everybody. 27, and that's it. And all that to say, so what you see now, I mean, I'm 57. When I was 27, this started. So it was 30 years ago, but that's when I really started. And it started with running.
Yeah.
Triathlon didn't come for probably another 6 or 7 years after that.
Oh, more than that, probably.
No, I started 33, 31, 32. I started swimming.
Okay.
31, I started swimming, but not biking. So running and then swimming.
Yeah.
And then biking came after that. So that's important, I mean, and then at first I just wanted to, and then I would start out for 10Ks. I didn't do 5Ks for some reason. We're up to 10Ks because I wanted to run a 10K like my sisters.
Yeah.
And then I started running, and that was when you had to like fill the form out, you had to print out the form. Remember, I don't think you could do it online. This is 1997,
There's no
98.
such thing back
Yeah,
then.
you would
Yeah.
print the form out and you take it with you. You'd find out the location of the race. And I was driving around Chicagoland by myself on Saturday and Sunday mornings
Yeah.
and participating in 10Ks by myself. and would bring the form, and there was no chip. There was no chip around your ankle then. It would just go do the race. It was like kind of some fun runs, some are more competitive, but there was really no chip back then. And that's what really started it. And it became something I just wanted to finish. And then it became, and there's like, oh, I want to get better. I want to get better at this. And then something changed inside of me. I mean, I wanted to get better as a runner, and I got tired. I wanted to start placing in my age group in running. And then I thought of all, and I would read in like in Runner's World, I'd read in like maybe Women's Fitness, or what was it, that women's magazines? There were women's fashion magazines. Oh, what was the fitness one that we would all read? Anyways, and that was about wanting to do a triathlon. I'd hear about I knew what it was. I'm like, I would like to do that. I'm interested in that. I think that's something I could do. I can bike. I grew up swimming. When I was a little kid, I was swam in swim team.
Yeah.
I can do that. And then you and I met, and you really got into, you were doing triathlons, and I didn't understand what was half Ironman. What's a half Ironman? What's an Olympic distance race? And then you helped me get into it.
Yeah.
But at that point, I already had discipline. But all that to say, it took years for me to get to the point of being disciplined. Years and years. And then, you just, it's like slow. And then I was running, and I'm like, I'd like to get better as a runner. I'd like to come into my age group. Then I started to do triathlons with you. Now I'm in my 30s. And for years, I was fourth, fifth, sixth in my age group. For years, I knew I was in the top 10%. But in larger groups, top 10% could be you came in 20th in your age group. I'm like, I want to see. And then I got curious, like, how good can I get? There's more in me here. Okay, so I'll self-coach. Because money was an issue, because I couldn't afford the coaches back then, right? How fast could I go?
Yeah.
How hard can I go? I don't think I was going hard enough. How hard could I go? Could I one day be on one of these podiums in a running race, and then in a triathlon? Could I do it? Could I qualify for bigger races? I wanted to find that out. So I kind of like caught the bug. And I think what's important is that when I was putting this all together, I am competitive. I'm a competitive person. I'm competitive at sport. I'm not really competitive in my profession. I'm not competitive as a therapist. I'm not competitive as a coach. I'm just not. I've always been competent at myself as a therapist and a coach. I've always been told I was good at it.
Yeah.
I've always kind of known it. I mean, I have, and I'll toot my own horn. I think it's a God-given gift. I think I've been given this gift of understanding and asking the right questions. I think that, and I know because my clients tell me, and my bosses, my supervisors, my colleagues who've seen me in action have said, you're really good at this. I know it. And so I never felt, and that's a good thing, I've never felt competitive. But when it comes to sport,
Yeah.
I am competitive. I mean, I love training with people, but on race day, watch out. We are competitors.
Yeah.
And I think that, and I don't think that for any of us, it's anything to apologize for. Be a good competitor. Be an excellent competitor. It's nothing to apologize for. I mean, competition for me, really, at the end of the day, was never about beating other people. It was about discovering my true calling. It was about discovering what else is in me. What else can I do? What happens if I actually commit to this? If I actually commit, if I do it the right way.
Yeah.
And that's why I say this to all the time on the podcast here. What happens? What could you actually do if you commit? If you actually pay for coaching? So many people, and I get it. I do get it. There's a certain subsect of the population that truly can't pay for coaching. And you can't pay for coaching with me because you're in a season right now, money is tight. But most people are in a season where they can pay for coaching. They're not doing it. They don't want to give up their Starbucks. They don't want to give up their coffee runs. They don't want to give up their, ordering Grubhub and DoorDash. They don't want to give that up. They don't want to give up the shopping. They don't want to give up. They don't. And I see this over and over and over.
Yeah.
Because, most people could benefit from coaching and they're not paying for it. And that was me many, many years ago. And now it's the best investment in me when it comes to sport, me being coached for my business, me getting life coaching. It has been the best investment, everybody. And that's why I'm sitting here today and why I am where I am because of the coaches in my life. So I finally decided I'm going to pay for this. I have to pay for it because I had been, so fast forward 10 years, I was self coaching, and then I paid for it and I got better.
Yeah.
And then I got really better
Yeah.
because I finally found the coach who was right for me, she's a badass and she didn't put up with shit from me. And that's when I got really good.
Yeah.
So what happens if I keep showing up for years instead of just months? And that question changed everything for me. I know you have lots to say because there's so much you can contribute to
Can
this
we go backwards a little bit?
conversation.
Can we go back? So let's start right after the last day after you quit basketball. That's what I want to talk about.
Okay.
Right? Because the topic of this conversation.
Basketball was your sport in high school and college.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before triathlon. So that was Tip. That was you, right? You
Yeah,
were a
yeah.
basketball player.
Yeah. But I want to talk about you. So
we could talk about you.
Well,
too.
there's
'Cause you have a lot
being
to say here, too.
disciplined. I think there's discipline and there's confidence, and I think that those things can interweave together, but they're very different things, right? They are cousins, let's say.
Yeah.
Right. So you quit basketball, but you pinned a lot of it on the discipline, and you just didn't want to do it, and you had other interests and all the things.
Because I was not that great. I was middle of the pack. I was on the bench. I was a bench warmer.
Yeah.
And I got tired of it.
So what I want to hear
hard.
is there a little bit of confidence in other parts of your life back in we're talking about what, late 70s, early 80s? Like, was there other things that you were?
I'm not that old. Late 70s, I was 10.
Whatever that decade was. Like, I'm just trying to figure out, like, is there something back then that you embraced or leaned into that you were very confident at, that you kind of like took with you along the way through the other decades that eventually surfaced itself when you were 35? Like the confidence, not the discipline, the confidence.
Like I said, I think no, but I was willing. I've always been a risk taker, and I was curious and willing to try. I was always willing to try. I mean, I grew up, I've been swim teams since I was 6. I remember,
but it doesn't even have to be athletics.
Yeah, I mean, that has helped.
Yeah,
because I got basically thrown into swim team at 6 years old because I think my mom wanted me to be in swim team and Maria.
Yeah,
I think Paula was home with her because Paula was the littlest. I think she probably wanted the kids in swim team from 3:30 to 5:30 every day in the summer because, she needed someone to be with us kids. So we were literally thrown in the pool. Yeah. And we were at the end. I couldn't swim 25 yards.
Well, it's also a good life skill.
Well,
so
then I'd swim. I took like swimming lessons, and then I'd swim and I have to holding on. I remember holding on to the side of the pool, catching my breath and like going again. I probably did that 6 or 7 times before I got 25 yards.
Right.
At 6 years old. I mean, I remember that. I remember hating it.
Yeah.
Hating it as a 6-year-old little girl. But guess what? I learned how to swim 25 yards. I didn't have to hold on the side of the pool anymore.
I think that's what I want to hear. Is
and
like
then
there's moments of confidence that started to kind of show.
As a 6 and 7-year-old. And then my mom signed us up for the swim clinics at 6 a.m.
Yeah.
But the coach was really cute. Our swim coach was teaching these clinics. Eric, he was so cute. And I think is he the one who drove? Somebody drove a yellow convertible Corvette, which was the coolest thing ever because I had Barbie's. Maria had Barbie's pink Corvette. I thought it was the coolest thing. And then the other coach, Connie, somebody had like a Jeep Rubicon. They were like the coolest coaches with their Jeep Rubicon and their yellow convertible Corvette in the parking lot. And we had crushes on them as well as crushes on all the lifeguards. This is the 70s. Remember the 70s with the hair, the boys were all so cute. I'm a little girl. I'm like, oh my gosh, there he is. And the cool music they'd be playing, the Eagles, they played the Eagle. I mean, it was the best memories of summer in the 70s.
Okay.
But I learned how to swim, and so that's why fast forward to my early 30s, I knew I could swim. So what's your question again? But that doesn't play a part in any of this, really.
I'm just trying to have you go there with like, did you have other things in your life that you were confident in?
I was confident
in like, were you a great drinker of Pabst Blue Ribbon back in the day? Were you
I was confident? Well, come high school, I was confident in my ability to
something.
Yeah, I was confident in my ability to party. I was confident in my ability to have I always had a ton of friends.
Yeah.
Girlfriends and guy friends. I always had a ton of friends.
So you were confident.
My best friends were guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very confident in my personality.
Yeah. So
I have a outgoing, fun, funny personality.
Yeah.
And I like people like to be around me, and I like to be around people.
Yeah.
And I can talk paint off the wall. I can talk to a doorknob. I can talk to anyone.
Okay.
And I'm good at that.
Okay.
And I
But
had confidence in that personality. I let go of all sport because I wasn't disciplined.
okay. And that's a different podcast when we're talking about confidence today. So that's why I'm trying to get you to go there with the confidence. Okay, there were moments of being confident in your early teens, mid teens, early 20s, like in different things other than sports,
Yeah.
right? And that stuff stayed inside of you,
I was
right?
confident in my personality. I was confident. I wasn't real confident in me academically. I was an average student.
Okay.
I didn't care. I got to the point where I didn't care about it.
Yeah.
I was really just confident in having fun.
Yeah.
Really.
And maybe what we're hearing from you is that there wasn't a lot of confidence back then, right? Maybe that didn't show itself until later
Not
in
in
life.
sport. In grade school, sport was pretty fun. It was just about camaraderie and
Yeah.
friendship and laughter
Yeah.
and learning how to be a part of a team.
Yeah.
That's what fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth grade taught me. I love softball. I love basketball. You learned how to be a part of a team.
Yeah.
It's very different than individual sports. Swimming, triathlon,
Yeah.
running is very me, I.
Yeah.
You all know this. Basketball, baseball, softball, volleyball. You are part of a team. There's no I in the word team. It's all about team. Football.
Yeah.
You all know this, right?
Yeah. Can
I learned that.
Yeah. Let me give you an example of what I'm trying to get you to say. So
I know
my background is basketball, right? Okay. And I was confident in myself and all of the stuff. But if I take myself out of basketball, as a third grader, fifth grader, seventh grader, like there were so many other things that I experienced that I started to understand what it meant to be confident in myself, right? Learning how to water ski as a little kid, like when
Yeah.
you fall and fall and fall, like that, I think the confidence that I was like learning to learn was like, keep trying.
Yes.
Right. Try
You
again.
get thrown off the
right?
horse, literally get back
to the
up, get
point
right
like
back
where
on.
it's like, all right, now you got it. Now you can do it. You can get yourself pulled out of the water. Right. So that's becoming confident in yourself. Learning how to as a like, I mean, barely in middle school, how to drive a boat, like how to drive right? Like no idea. Like, and you were like scared. And like, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, and my parents were like, take the boat out into the river, which that would never happen in
Right.
this
in
year.
Mississippi.
Right.
Right.
But learning how do you drive an outboard motor? Like, how do you turn it on? How do you start it? How do you like steer with that? Cause it's backwards, right?
Right.
Like just being able to be confident, like, all right, I'm going to like really work at like understanding this and like how to do it. And then eventually like, okay, I'm really confident. Like I could let's go. I put my dogs in the boat.
Well, I was good at gymnastics. There's a lot of, I was really good at gymnastics
Yeah.
when I was 7, 8, 9, 10. I loved gymnastics. That's right. There's a lot of things I wanted to pursue.
Yeah.
I think truly my parents are just too busy with all of us kids, and they couldn't put into, this is large family dynamics.
Yeah.
They couldn't really put the energy into one kid and one kid's sport and one kid's habit or that they wanted to get into, a hobby that they wanted to get into,
Yeah.
unless you probably showed some true talent. They just didn't have the time or the energy to do it. And I don't blame them. I
Sure.
get it. I was confident as a gymnast. I became confident as a swimmer. I was confident. So that did help. I knew I was coordinated. I must have heard that. I knew I was coordinated. I knew I had sport in me, and I knew I was athletic. I'd been told that. I've been told I was coordinated.
Yeah.
But I let it go because I just wasn't that. I was average.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to get into a little bit of the research because we got a lot more to talk about. So, number one, I think it's important for you all to know I wasn't born disciplined. I wasn't. You just heard all the things I was good at. I wasn't disciplined.
I don't think a lot of people
are. Right.
Yeah.
So psychologist Angela Duckworth, who wrote the book Grit, which I have here, it's a great book. You all should read it. Her research, she's a researcher, she's a psychologist, and she did a bunch of research on grit. Her research on grit has shown that long-term compassion, it's funny I just said that, long-term passion combined with sustained effort predicts success in demanding pursuits better than talent alone. So basically she's saying that what is grit? Grit is your long-term passion that you have for something with sustained effort that predicts how successful you'll be in a demanding pursuit rather than just talent. So it's not just talent. that's going to get you far. And thank God, because I didn't have it.
Yeah.
Talent does matter for many, many people, right? But consistency matters more.
Yeah.
And this is why this book, I love it. And it's been so important for me to know, because I did not have the big T talent like many people that I ended up surrounding myself with in the running world and in the triathlon world had. I didn't have that. I
Yeah.
had hard work. I had developed discipline and consistency.
Yeah.
So looking back, triathlon wasn't revealing discipline. It was building it for me. So I didn't
Mm.
have it. Triathlon built it for me. Okay, so next, the first one was a discipline. Second lesson in this episode today is your feelings are not reliable. And I had to learn this the hard way, and it took me a lot of my life to learn this. One of the first things that endurance sport teaches you is this, and you know this, Tim. Your feelings are terrible predictors of performance. It's don't rely on your feelings, right?
Yeah.
Some mornings I used to wake up, excited to train. So many mornings I wanted to stay in bed. So many mornings I did not want to get up and go to the pool or go for a run. So many of us feel this way, are listening to this right now going, yep, that's me. You get your wetsuit on, you're like, dilly-dally, you're dithering, like, like
Yeah.
looking at the beach, looking at the waves, or you're looking at the lake, or you're like in the indoor pool and you're like fixing your goggles for the 10th time and you dip your toe in the water because we're not excited to be there. It's hard. We don't really want to do it.
Right.
And guess what? Neither feelings predicted whether I'd have a good workout or a good race that day. How I felt did not predict it.
Right.
Some of the best rides that I have had have started with zero motivation, whether they be alone or with a group. Some of the best rides started out in the rain, freezing cold, in the back of the pack, you with all the guys, and me back there, like hating life. Like I specifically remember that one ride we went on. Sometimes we take our bikes, we start somewhere out more rural in the suburbs here in Chicago, so we could be out in the farm on the country roads. This one started here at our house, and it was pouring down rain. It was freezing cold. I had a jacket on. It was still cold. And you're like talking away. You're probably in a Jay. Jay was such a strong biker. And I'm like behind you guys, and I'm like swearing under my breath, hating life. And everything in me wanted to turn around. And I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be with you guys. You were faster than me. I knew you would drop me, although I've been dropped many times on rides with men, with my team, with Zoot. I'd get dropped. How many times, I can't tell you, everyone, more times I didn't want to be there than I did. But then those ended up being great rides because the sun would come out, stop rain, sun would come out, and it'd be a 2 or 3 hour ride. And I would find my mojo and I'd get into it and it would be fine.
Yeah.
But it didn't start out that way.
Don't we listen a little too much, or maybe we get too much credit to our feelings?
Yeah.
Right? Like our feelings,
But it's because feelings are strong, though.
Well, they
Feelings
are
strong. I mean,
but
some of the worst days started with, I'm not motivated. I don't feel like doing this. I don't want to.
feel cold.
I feel cold.
Tired.
I feel like I'm in a bad mood.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in a bad mood and I want to turn around and go home and get back in bed and have a nice cup of coffee and I'll go to the gym later.
Yeah.
But part of me is like, Anna, you are not doing that.
Yeah.
Part of it maybe was ego. There's no way. It was ego. That's the healthy side of ego, really. Real. I mean, I'm not going to let them say Anna left. Hell no, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So I was, I am stubborn in that way, right? But that's also just true in life, right? I mean, people tell me all the time, I don't feel ready. I don't feel confident. I'm not motivated.
Yeah.
I'm not motivated, but here's the problem. If you only act when you feel like it, your emotions become your boss, right? And you know this as well as I do.
Well, yeah. And also the opposite. If you act on the feelings that are negative, right? If I feel cold, as I'm sitting on the edge of the pool and I'm telling you this and I think it and I'm sharing and I'm saying it out loud, like that's a negative feeling. It's a negative energy. And then you allow that to drive your decision, your next move, right? It's okay to feel cold. It's okay to be like, even say it out loud. Like, I'm cold. This water's freezing.
But confident, from your athletes.
Move forward.
From your swim athletes. Confidence doesn't grow when they feel ready. Their confidence grows because they did something scary that was hard for them. They didn't really feel ready and they did it anyway.
Right.
And there you see their confidence just shoots up.
Yeah.
Think about all the little kids you're teaching how to swim right now
Well,
and their
yeah.
confidence. It's the coolest thing for me
Yeah.
to hear the stories and to see.
Yeah. But so you and I see it from opposite sides. You see it from the one being coached. I see it from the one coaching. Right.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
everything that I think about, everything that I do is all based off of helping people with their confidence. Right. You don't have to be confident. The lesson,
you don't have to start off with confidence.
You don't have to start off with confidence, but like you might never be fast at something, right? But I'm more interested in you being confident in attempting to do it and then eventually being able to do it because you're confident you can do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a whole different conversation than being so interested in performance and podiums and all of that stuff. That's all wonderful. And that's all it all happens all the time. And I think there's also a whole underworld, but it's probably bigger. It's like the base of the pyramid where it's like trying to understand how to become confident in something by trusting yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's all mental stuff. That's, you know, this, it's all mental. You're just building you're talking yourself into it, right? There's probably a lot of failure, right? There's a lot more failure than success because you're not really confident until you succeed, and your version of success is a different version than winning a race.
So let's get into the research a little bit on that. A 2023 study, the American Psychological Association did this summary of behavioral research, which reinforced a core principle that we use in therapy all the time. And I use in coaching. And every coach I know uses this: action precedes motivation, right?
Sure.
That's why we don't care about your motivation. I'm not interested in your motivation. How motivated you are, don't really care.
Yeah.
I do, but I don't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I care that you take action, right? Changing behavior can change emotion. Say it again. Changing behavior can change emotion. It's not the other way around. That's cognitive behavioral therapy in real life. That's why I use it with my therapy clients as well as my coaching clients. And a lot of people do. They're just not saying it.
Yeah.
I'm calling out what it is. Many coaches are using cognitive behavioral therapy. That's what it is. It's the gold standard in therapy, and it works in coaching because it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Change your behavior. I say this all the time, everybody. You know this if you've been listening to me. Change your behavior, drag the feelings like your baby blanket. Change your behavior, drag the feelings behind you. They'll come at some point. You'll feel good, but you got to change that behavior first.
Yeah. And I don't think that, I'd love to hear your take on this one. Like, I don't think I can coach somebody to become confident, right?
They have to start taking action,
right?
And they will get it on their own.
Exactly.
That's the gift of a coach, is you coach them up to change behavior and to take action.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have been talking for an hour, and we got more to talk about because this is a big episode. Next lesson, I'm gonna share with all of you. But before we get into that, if you are interested in being coached by me, reach out to me, hello@annamarcolini.com. Get on my calendar for a discovery call. Let's talk. Let's meet and see if I'm a fit for you, if this would work. Okay. But this is a lot of people reaching out for coaching, and it's been really wonderful, really, really wonderful to meet all of you listeners and you watchers on YouTube from around the world. It's really been quite wonderful. And thank you to all of you who are rating and reviewing the podcast. It really, really does make a difference. If there's anything that you could do as a give back, if you've appreciated anything we've talked about today or any of the episodes that we've been dropping weekly since 2020, really, please, please, please rate, take a minute and press that 5-star button on whatever platform you're on. We do need more reviews on Spotify. So if you're on Spotify, especially to you all, we don't have any reviews on Spotify. So that will be a wonderful give back, and I would so appreciate it. Okay. And reach out to me. I would love to know who you all are even more. I read all these emails. I mean, I read every single one of them. They get forwarded to me. I read them. Okay. So I really love getting to know all of you and where you're at in your heads and in your hearts and what you're dealing with. Okay. And as always, take a minute. I will do an episode. If you have something, that you want me to talk about, I'll do an episode on it. If it's something I think that, you've got to think to yourself, like, I cannot be the only one who's going through this. We'll talk about it. Okay. All right. So, and, once again, you know where to find me. Anna Marcolini is my website, and there's lots and lots of ways you can reach me. So let's get on Discovery Call together. And if you're in Illinois, I can be your therapist. All right. So the next lesson, the third lesson, nothing ever goes according to plan. Plan on that. Plan on that. Nothing
Yeah.
ever goes according to plan. I've never had a perfect race. I've maybe had a near perfect race, but I've never had a perfect race. Not one race has been perfect.
Yeah.
I've had swims where my goggles have leaked. I've had swims in races where my goggles got kicked off my face. Thank God I didn't get my face smashed in.
Yeah.
I've, had bike rides where the winds, Tim, here in Chicago. So we don't have hills here in flat Illinois, but we got wind. And, the wind here makes up for our lack of being in the mountains or on hills. I've had rides where that wind felt relentless, and I was like seriously paddling 8 or 10 miles an hour, like hating life. Runs where I questioned, like, why did I sign up for this freaking 5K? Why?
Yeah.
I've had days like that.
Sure.
I'm more of a complainer than you are. I don't think I've ever heard you complain out loud. You just kind of suck it up. I'm the whiner, and I whine to you.
You do. You have a lot to say about the conditions of a day, of a morning. A lot of assessment. Right?
That's my anxiety. That's my performance anxiety
that's
coming
fine.
out.
I mean, that's why there's lots of people in the world.
Well,
right? We have to all offset each other.
Well, you notice that in the latter years, I've done it less and less because I've learned, and I've really learned how to manage my mind around sport, because I truly have anxiety around performance.
Sure. Can I give you a real life coaching moment from yesterday?
Sure.
To help.
Yeah.
To assist somebody to becoming confident. I didn't do it to make them confident. I'm trying to assist them to become confident. So I had all my swimmers, and we're doing 100-yard repeats of freestyle.
Yeah.
And we're in a pool that's 12 feet deep, just decently deep, right? Yeah. And we were doing jump-in starts. So it's not like we were in the water.
Why are we doing jump? Are they swimmers or triathletes?
Triathletes. They're all triathletes. So
triathletes, they jump in when Tim is coaching swimmers, like people who are trying to make swim team or developing their stroke, or people who are like swimmers, they dive in because they dive off the boards. What do you call them?
The diving platforms.
The platforms.
Yeah.
They dive. Triathletes don't need to dive because that's not how we do it in real life.
Right.
So they'll just jump in.
They'll jump in, or half the time you're running in, right? Like you just are. Anyway, so the drill on this one was you need to jump in, not have your goggles fall off. So jump in properly, not have your goggles fall off. You can't push off the wall, swim your 100, get done, come back to the walls, get up out of the pool again, and be ready for the next one.
Well, so that's a cardio.
It's a good cardio workout. Yeah. So that was like part of it. And then the curveball though is like on the third one, they all came out onto the deck. And then we're getting ready to go, and they're like, I
need to join this group. I need to come and swim with them. I want to swim with them.
They're all fidgeting with their swim caps and their goggles. And I'm like, all right. I go, hey, give me your goggles. So I take their goggles and I threw them out into the water, like 6, 7, 8 feet out. So now they're goggle-less. So now the exercise is you got to jump in. You're treading water in 12 feet of water. You got to find your goggles, and you got to put them on, and then you got to swim.
Yep.
And
that's real.
Yeah.
That's real. Not someone throwing your goggles, but them coming off,
right?
Getting water.
Just the skill of being able to understand that it's possible to do, right? And you're good with that. That it could happen.
You can do this.
Yeah,
you can do this.
Yeah. And so for all 3 out of the 4 swimmers, they had goggles that floated.
Did someone sink?
Somebody, my poor little high school swimmer, her goggles went straight down to the bottom, 12 feet of water. Everybody else grabs their goggles, they're putting them on. She's looking around. I'm like, hey, I think they're down there by the drain. You got to go down there and get them. She's like, down to the bottom.
It's funny.
Eventually she ended up getting a little assistance, but she did try and go get them.
There have been times in triathlons that both of us have been in where it has been a mosh pit. And it was probably back in the earlier years when the waves were mixed, or they'd have the women go, and then I'd have the next wave of men, 30 to 34, 35 to 39. They are beasts, and the next wave behind you. And you knew that they will swim over top of you.
Yeah.
They don't wait. They're racing. So you're going hard. But there are times when I've gotten pushed under the water. I remember being in that lake up in Wisconsin and looking up and seeing all the bodies above me. Thank God I had taken a breath. I mean, and I never was worried I was going to run out of breath, but I remember seeing bodies above me. But those guys will literally swim over top of you. Yeah. So all of those that you teach these triathletes and these groups of people in Lake Michigan or, in pools is really important if they're going to do triathlons because they got to learn how to be gritty. There you
Yeah.
go.
Well, learn
That's
how
where
to
you're teaching them grit. We talk about being gritty all the
yeah,
time in sport. You got to be
and
gritty.
confident in
Yes.
being able to get yourself out of
And
harm's
not to
way.
panic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. There was a race when I was thinking about this too, when I was doing the national championship in Cleveland a few years back. And it's the only time I've never been I'm a decent swimmer. I'm not a great swimmer. I'm a decent swimmer. I'm pretty decent. I'm middle of the pack with swimming. And that's how I've always raced. Is just come in middle of the pack or towards the front. You don't need to win the swim. You need to do well on the bike and you really got to do well on the run, but you can be an okay swimmer. And that's me. I remember in Cleveland, we were swimming, and that's Lake Ontario? No, Lake Erie.
I
And
think
the
it's Erie.
chop was so bad that day.
Yeah.
And there's so much we could talk about triathlon. It was the 2 to 3 hour wait for your wave to grow because it's a national championship. And my wave is like way, way, way back. Your adrenaline is like kind of low key surging down, up, down, up. It's really hard to race these races where you have a 2 or 3 hour wait before your wave goes off. A wave is a group of people in your age group. You all go together. And then I was saying how 20 years ago it was, you'd have men and women and the men would plow over the women. Now they've done it. It's very separate where the men usually go first. All the men's age groups go, and then all the women's age groups will go. So you don't have to deal with that, which is a good thing because it's a safety issue.
Smart.
But I was in Cleveland going out in Lake Erie, and that chop was so bad that day. And that was the only time in my life where I was scared
Yeah.
because the chop was so high, I couldn't see over the waves. I couldn't see the lifeguard in the kayak. I couldn't see anybody. I was completely alone out there. And I started to panic. And I told myself, stop it. And this is the good stuff. I'm like, stop it. Don't panic. And I got on my back. I had a wetsuit on. And I've never since then or it's after that ever done this. I know to do this though. I got on my back and just started to tread water on my back and try to catch my breath
Yeah.
and went and turned around and slowly started swimming, waiting for the wave to come down, the undulations of the waves, and then when it came down, look for the kayak. When it came down, look for the buoy, the big frickin' the triangle buoys in triathlon. Look, they come down, look for the buoy, swim towards that. And when I get nervous, I get on my back again, and I didn't do well in that national race because of my swim was so slow. It was one time I'm like, yeah, I just want to live. I
Right.
don't want to drown
Well,
here
didn't somebody
because
come?
I don't, yeah, I was going to say it, but I was going to say it, but you said it. Yeah.
Sorry.
A woman did drown in that race.
Yeah.
It scared me. And I thought it scared me.
Yeah.
It was the only time in a race. So what do? That's what I did. You get on your back. I talked to myself. I knew that the worst thing I could do was panic because panic was going to get my amygdala firing and you're not using you're not in your right head. So that's the one time.
Yeah.
Okay. So people don't really drown in triathlon. So I don't want to scare people because they don't. It does happen. But that's why your training for swim is so important. I just knocked my glasses over. Okay. So confidence is not built because everything goes according to plan. Now you've heard that, right? It's built because you learn how to adapt when it doesn't. I just gave the example of me starting what I did in Cleveland when I got on my back. That's really, really important. That's how you develop confidence. You're putting in the reps and you remember your training. And that's important too. Remember your training. Remember what you did to get here. And I had to remember that in that race. Okay.
Yeah. And I think that's when confidence and discipline or dedication, whatever you want to call it, that's when they start to get a little closer to each other, right? You need to become disciplined in mastering a skill.
I do think now discipline comes in because you have to put in the training. I think don't phone it in. Don't phone it in.
Yeah.
Don't be half-assed about it. Don't try not to blow off workouts. I've said this before here. It's one thing if your kids are sick or you're up all night or you're sick. That's different. We're not talking about that.
Yeah.
But, we did a whole episode on reasons versus excuses. A lot of people give excuses. 80-90% are excuses, 10% have reasons.
Yeah.
Right. And you may have legit reasons every now and then, but
yeah,
do the work.
I just think it's hard to eventually become confident in something if you don't have the discipline and
Yes.
dedication
Yes.
to give effort and try again and keep pushing forward, right?
Mhm.
That's, I think, where those two worlds start to kind of line up, right?
Yeah. I remember this one race we did years ago, and it was that same race, but I think it was up in Lake Andrea. And your wave, this is way back because you went ahead of me, and you had a wetsuit on, and you guys had to run in. We had to run into this lake. It was a rocky beach, and it was like went down. It was like a descent. You had to run down the beach, rocky beach, into the water. And I'll never forget watching you run into when your wave, the gun went off and your wave started.
Yeah.
You ran in and you lost your balance and you grabbed the zipper line of the triathlete in front of you to hold your own balance. I couldn't believe you did that. I mean, I was like, Tim, you pulled that guy back. You totally pulled that guy
I'm
back.
pretty
He lost
sure
his balance and flying back, and Tim went running past him. He
I'm
held your balance.
I'm pretty sure I unzipped his wetsuit.
I just remember you grabbing that long zipper as you were losing your
It was
balance.
unintentional.
I know, but you grabbed a zipper to hold your own balance. He flipped back and you dove forward in the water. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, guess that's how it's done.
That's how it
All right.
goes.
Okay. So next lesson. Discomfort and danger are not the same thing. Really, really important. Okay. So this lesson changed the way I practice therapy and the way I coach. Triathlon, it hurts. Running a marathon, running any race, balls to the wall, hurts. There's discomfort.
Yeah.
There's fatigue throughout every part of your body.
Yeah.
Self-doubt comes in. Here comes the mind. Self-doubt. Sometimes fear comes in there too, right?
Yeah.
But not all discomfort means to stop. Most discomfort does not mean to stop. Sometimes it means you're growing. You're stretching yourself, right? Sometimes it means you're simply doing something that's difficult for you in this moment. Now, sometimes pain does not stop, all right? There's a difference between discomfort and injury, right? So if you're feeling discomfort, that's turning into injury. If many of you who are runners, you know this, you count, you rate your discomfort. If it starts, it's a 3, can I run through this? It's a 4, starts to go up at a 5. Let's say, like, I know you and I have dealt with old injuries that rear their ugly heads from time to time. IT band, can you continue? Is the IT band pain, hip flexor pain, gluteus, the glute med, a lot of triathletes and runners have this. Calf, knee pain. You can't run through knee pain. So
Yeah.
knee pain for me is an automatic stop and you're walking, but there's, the chronic ones like IT band is really common in runners. Will it stay? If the pain goes up, then you stop. That's pain. Okay. I'm not talking, that's not what this episode is about. That's common sense. Stop. You're going to make yourself worse, right? I'm not talking about pain. The wisdom is learning, though, for the most part, when it comes to doing really hard things in your life, which is which, right? Emotionally, it is the same inside your brain, right? Many people avoid difficult conversations because they're uncomfortable. There's a discomfort here. So I'm going to avoid this conversation. And whether you know it or you don't know it, you may make the situation worse, right?
Yeah.
Not because, that person's an unsafe person for you, but because you don't know how to sit with the discomfort of talking to somebody or calling somebody up and saying, hey, can we talk? We need to talk. Can we talk? That feels really uncomfortable to you. It's not painful, I will say, in general. It's just really an uncomfortable idea that you may have to do that or that you need to do that or you ought to do it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'm going to take the easy way out. I'm just going to not have a relationship with that person anymore. I'm going to barely ever talk to them. Right. So what happens? People avoid setting boundaries. They avoid applying for jobs because they think they don't have the goods. They don't have it in them. I'm never going to get this job. I don't have whatever it might be that we tell ourselves. People avoid starting businesses. I mean, I see this all the time in coaching. People avoid, they got knocked down by an employer or something that happened to them at a former job. Somebody said something to them. Somebody did legitimately do something to them that was awful. So their confidence has been rocked.
Yeah.
And so they avoid, right? They avoid having honest conversations, like I just said, maybe with their spouse that they need to have. And not because the situation or that person's dangerous, because they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It feels really hard and really scary to apply for this, to make a pivot in my career, to make a shift. It feels really uncomfortable to have to talk to my sister-in-law that I kind of don't like, but I need to have this conversation, or my brother, or my mom,
Right.
or my adult kid,
Yeah.
or my best friend who's really making me mad right now because she's doing stuff that's making me mad and I'm tired of it. But
Yeah.
I'm afraid to talk to her because of this and this and this and this and this, right?
Yeah.
One of the greatest emotional skills we can develop is asking ourselves, am I actually in danger, or am I simply, and I know it might not seem simple for people, am I uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
Those are very different questions. Are you actually in danger? No, you're not in danger. 95% of you are not in danger. You're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are two very different things.
Yeah. And I think that's why you, and we'll use air quotes on this one, I think that's why you train hard, right? Whether it's physical or it's mental. Like
Yeah.
I think you, it's wise to take yourself beyond the comfort levels that you normally would have in training, whatever that means, and stretch yourself a little bit so that you can say, you know what, I've actually been here before. Like I've been uncomfortable before,
Yeah.
right? And I've done this before. How many times have you said that?
How many
Yeah.
times have I said that? How many times have I been so nervous? So, I mean, you all know this if you've been listening. I run anxious, and I have spent my life dealing with my anxiety,
Yeah.
my nervousness, especially around sport performance and speaking. Speaking is the number one anxiety the world over. Number one anxiety. And I have it, and I don't have it so much today because I have put in the reps, put in the reps, put in the reps over and over and
Yeah.
over. When I'm about to give a talk, do I get nervous? Yeah, less so than I used to. But what do? I practice with myself. I practice in the mirror. I practice with you. You listen to it. I practice. I practice. That's why it's hard for me to get up on stage in front of a microphone. I'm comfortable. I've been down at Second City. I've done all the work, went through improv at Second City, been in shows down at Second City, done stand up. Have to get back to that, by the way. I do need to get back to doing some stand up, but I've done it. Was it easy? No, it wasn't easy. It was so hard. I'm like spitting out, like sweating through my shirt, sweating through my clothes. You all would never see it, but I got lots of deodorant on, antiperspirant, because I'm sweating. I'm nervous. It's hard. And I still did it.
Yeah.
Many of the people that I've been in ensembles with, we're all nervous. Everyone's nervous. Oh, someone's doing push-ups in the corner. Like other people, like by themselves, going over their bits. Like everyone's nervous. I've been in stand-up with people who that's what they do. That's what they do. And they are nervous.
Yeah.
Because especially in stand-up, on any given night, you can bomb. And you could be a really great stand-up comedian. And you can bomb, and nobody in the audience, I don't know, it's not their vibe. They're not in the mood, and they don't think you're funny.
Yeah.
And you're still up there. That's nerve-wracking. And they still continue to do it. It's the same with everything in life. And I think you all know this, but that's true. All right. So the next lesson, your brain lies when you're tired. Your brain lies to you when you're tired. Every endurance athlete knows this voice that rears its ugly freaking head when you're tired. So halfway through a long run, right, Tim? Your brain starts negotiating. At least my brain starts negotiating. Halfway through a half Ironman, because that was my distance. So that's 13.1 miles. Sometimes in an Olympic distance race, which is a 10K, if I'm really, really, really going hard, my brain will be like, you need to slow down. You can slow down. You know what? You should slow down. You're fine. Slow down a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
That's the devil on my shoulder, who is kind of, I think, a little bit of the angel, but it's the devil going, slow down, slow down. You've done enough. You can quit. You can quit. I've done that before swims in really difficult half Ironmans, where usually it's the weather. If it's raining or there's chop and we're in open water, not like a lake. We're usually in Lake Michigan or an ocean. My brain's going, you can just not start this race. DNS did not start, or you can don't do it. I mean, I do. You know that. I get so nervous before these swims.
Right.
So that's when you see me nervous. Remember, we were in Ohio at Sandusky at what's that big amusement park? Put-in-Bay, Sandusky, Ohio. You all know,
Mm,
outside of Cleveland, the really big. It's
yeah.
like Great America.
Uh,
We did a race there, and they
yeah.
switched it from Lake Erie, once again Cleveland area, back. We swam in the harbor, and that was so much better. But they said the water's 56 degrees, and I was so nervous. It wasn't 56 degrees, so I could work myself up into an anxiety lather. My brain's like, you need to not do this today. You need to go
Yeah.
back. But then the other part of my brain's like, but if you don't do it, you'll forever be mad at yourself. I have serious an angel and a devil on my shoulders when it
Nice.
comes to these races. No one will know. That's something I tell myself. No, no, no one's ever going to know, Anna. You can just slow down, or you could just not do the race, right? It's such a form of mental torture. So
Yeah.
I have been there. I don't think you don't go through it the way I do. I wish I had part of your brain. So here's what fascinated me.
Right.
Sometimes my body, especially in the run part of a half Ironman, it still had plenty left. It was my mind sort of trying to conserve energy. As a therapist, I smiled, when I realized this is exactly what we teach in CBT and cognitive behavioral therapy, you know, and how I coach my clients. Thoughts are not facts, right? Thoughts are mental events. It's a mental event, right? Some thoughts do deserve your attention, some don't.
Yeah.
And triathlon has given me thousands and thousands of repetitions over the years in running races of practicing that skill of not stopping when your mind goes, you can stop now, you can slow down. That's why I think sport can and is such a powerful teacher. Being at mile 8 of a half Ironman and you've got 5 more to go, and you're just counting down next aid station. The aid stations are at the miles till 9, till 10, another mile till 11,
Yeah.
and you're going as hard as you can.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at my watch going, you have to keep this pace. You have to keep this pace. If you want to get on the podium, you have to keep this pace. Or an Olympic distance where I can sprints. I don't really do sprints, but Olympics, I can gauge where the women in my age group are. We tend to know each other. I can gauge where they are, not so much the swim, but I can see where they are on the bike. If I've passed them, or I can just see if there's out and back, or if you pass each other.
Yeah.
And I can see, Anna, you have to keep this pace up. You have to keep this pace up. It's just, if you want to have a nice lead on the run. Or the worst is when you're on a run and the person you're competing against, because you want to get on that podium, is like behind you. And I know she's gaining. And I am in so much pain and I'm in mental agony because I want to slow down, but I have to keep this pace because they don't want her to catch me. The worst is when you hear the breathing coming up behind you, and it's like
Well,
mental
and you're
torture,
not really sure who it is,
and
right?
you want to
You
slow
don't you
down.
don't know
Well, you can
sometimes.
look. Sometimes I'll look back, but I
Yeah.
don't want to look back because it's like I don't want her to see me looking back, because then she'll see she's got an edge up. Oh, because she's looking back. She wants
Sure.
to see where I am.
Yeah.
So there's a whole mental part to this competition too.
Yeah.
So just keep looking forward and running forward and keeping this fast pace, and your body's going, stop, stop. That's hard.
Well, I mean, the other negotiation that's going on too is like you also in real time are knowing that there is potential that if you push too hard, you might crash and burn, and then it's all over.
Yeah.
Right. That is possible. So there is you're negotiating with like, yeah, I need to continue to work hard and run fast or bike fast. And I also need to know that there is a line there somewhere where it's like, I can't push beyond that, because then 20 minutes from now, I'm
There you
gonna I'm
go.
gonna overheat.
There you go.
I'm gonna cramp. I'm gonna whatever it
Exactly.
might be. So you've got this internal turmoil.
There's
going
always
on.
something that's going on inside your
Yeah.
mind as a triathlete
Yeah.
that you're trying to gauge. It's a hot day. I can't redline it right now. I've got
Right.
6 more miles to go. I can't redline it. I can redline it maybe at mile 10 and do 2 miles of it,
Right.
or at 11. I can't do it now. And, where I dropped a goo, I dropped one of my gels, or, okay, shoot, they have Gatorade. I don't drink Gatorade. That's not what I train with. Although, and so I would carry my own, because my sports dietitian didn't like Gatorade for me. So I would have my own liquids on me, and maybe some liquid leaked out because I didn't get my bottle on right. Or, something, or they ran
Yeah.
out of ice at the aid stations on hot days. That's the worst. And they often would.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do? Or they don't. And you're dying. You are dying and you have ice. So you're putting ice in your bra. I'm putting ice in my baseball hat and pouring water over your head. You're grabbing all those waters, pouring over your head, putting ice in your baseball cap, ice in your groin, put ice down your shorts. So you have ice on your groin to keep you're trying to cool your core,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
just like knowing like when can I redline it? But your mind is so very active in many ways trying to get you to stop, right?
It's trying to get you to stop. And then, so take a couple steps back. I think that's why then we're going back into confidence again now, because now that's why you train so hard. And that's why you kind of replicate these scenarios that could happen. You replicate that in training.
And I think what happens in racing, though, which doesn't really happen in training, is that you can be confident, but we tend to play. There's a line between confidence and self doubt, and I think this happens a lot with people. Is that, and this is why you have to train your mind, and this is why I work with people on training their mind, with life.
Yeah.
So, and I draw from sport and how I've been trained and how I've been coached and how I have been counseled
Yeah.
in sport is how I work with my coaching clients.
Yeah.
Sometimes my therapy clients, but mostly my coaching clients, is that remember, come the moment of the event, maybe you have to have a hard conversation with a family member. Maybe you are the team leader. Maybe you have to give a talk, or you have a pitch coming up, and you have a big pitch coming up. You can be confident, but oftentimes when you're in the moment, a little bit of self-doubt creeps in, and you have to ride the line. You have to ride that place, that itchy, scratchy place inside of us between confidence and a little bit of self-doubt.
Yeah. And I think what separates a coach from a good coach is the coach that tells you the why.
I think that's a good coach to a great coach.
Okay. I mean, whatever. But like, I think that's where it separates. Like a coach, you've been coached by people that just say, go harder, go faster. And that's the end of the statement. And it's the great coach that will tell you, well, you need to do this because of this.
Right.
This is the reason why, or this is you're going to get exposed to this hard stuff in the race next weekend or 2 months from now, or whatever it is, at mile 11.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, wow, I would have never put those two things together. Right?
I remember we were up in Wisconsin the day before. We were doing a half Ironman. I was there with our good friend Jen, and I had done the race before, and I watched you do the race. Or years that I didn't do it, you did it, and I think I did it the year before, and so I knew that race, the run course, and the run course. It's like, talk about like does a number on you mentally, because they bring you at mile 6, it's 2 out and backs. At mile 6, 6.5, they bring you literally down the finish line, and then they make you turn and go right back out. You go right back out for another 6 miles. And mentally, that is hard for people, because you're tired, and you're like, oh, they make you run down along the beach, and you see the huge finish sign, and you see all the people who are there with their waiting for a family member, their athlete to come in. And I said, this is going to be hard for you. Now, this is going to be hard part. Now let's go look at it. I want you to see this. Now it's here you are, you're mile 6.5. And I said, that's not for you. That chute, the finishing chute, is not for you. You stay over here, you turn, you go right back out. You're doing another 6. And I think it was the next day we did the race. And she said, Anna, that helped me so much. You told me that. She goes, I had it in my head. You said, that chute's not for you. That chute's not for you. She goes, and I remember Jen, and she's like, I remember that. She goes, and it really helped me, because I knew, just don't even look over there. Stay to the right, look to the right, turn the corner, go right back out for another 6 miles.
Yeah.
And it really did help her.
Sure.
So so much of it is mental, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about self-doubt. Sports psychology research consistently shows that elite performers are not free from self-doubt. Most of us have some version, a little bit to a medium bit, of self-doubt. They simply recover from unhelpful thoughts faster and return their attention to the task right in front of them. So like I was telling, like Jen's like, just stay to the right, keep your body to the right, stay in the right chute, keep your eyes on the prize, which is your finish, and it's not for another 6.5 miles. Go, stay to the right.
Yeah.
You go out and back, right? That's emotional regulation. This is not positive thinking. It's learning to regulate your emotions, because we do have self-doubt from the elites and the professionals. They even have it from time to time. Now they are really, really training their minds. Today, most of them have sports performance coaches helping them.
Yeah.
And this is why it's so important. They train their mind. Okay. So the next lesson is, for me, the medals were not the biggest reward at all. Don't get me wrong. Standing on the podium, that was my goal. Did it feel good? Hell yes, it felt good. I love it. Winning my age group, that felt even better. So coming in third or second was great. Coming in first in my age group, that's all I wanted. That felt amazing. Seeing years of work, years, people, years, not weeks and months, years of work pay off was incredibly satisfying.
Yeah.
I'm proud of those moments, of course.
Yeah.
But here's what surprised me. The medal lasted a day. It really did. And the half Ironmans, it lasted a few days, maybe a few weeks. You had bragging rights with your triathlon team. You're proud of yourself. You would tell people in our group would know, yeah, that would last a week, 2 weeks. Then everybody forgot about it. Everybody went,
At most.
yeah, at most,
I was
at
gonna
most.
it might last through
Maybe
lunch.
when I qualified for Worlds,
Yeah.
that lasted, but still, it goes. People go on their lives. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, aren't you doing a race next year? Some national competition? Like, no one even remembers that, right?
Yeah.
It was a person that I became while chasing all this. That stayed.
Sure.
That has stayed, right?
Yeah.
I became someone, you heard about me talking about my high school years, my college years, all my partying years. I became someone who kept a promise to herself.
Yeah.
Someone who understands how to delay gratification, someone who knows that I can recover after disappointment. I've done the ugly crying after races when I had a terrible race. Things didn't go according to plan, when I was unrealistic about how well I could do.
Yeah.
Ugly crying, people staring at me. I've had that. I've had bitter, bitter disappointments, right? And I learned to recover from that. Somebody who learned to not panic when things would go sideways. Swimming in Lake Erie in Cleveland, that went sideways. But I've had other times where my chain came off, where things just happen. Like I got smacked in the head, somebody, like, whatever, just things happen in races. Not everybody, most people are really great, other triathletes, but there are people who are jerks. People who stole my water bottles in transition, and you go running off the swim, you go to get your bike and your water bottles are gone because someone stole your nutrition. Now what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, there are major disappointments and things that go on, but you learn not to panic. You got this. Okay, you got this. So what are
Yeah.
you going to do? You're going to roll with it. Those lessons have served me for far longer in my life than any trophy ever could. They've taught me how to sort of just really roll the punches, but it's taught me how to coach others,
Sure.
right?
I mean, there's nothing more fulfilling, I don't think, than like for a coach anyway. It's like you get that, your athlete's going to race on that a particular weekend, and like
Right.
you're not there. It's not always possible. You're at every race with every athlete that you coach, right?
Yeah.
You don't go into life with the people that you coach either. You turn them loose and off they go, and they report back to you. But you get that text later in the day. Right. And it's like that person's like, oh, they're all like really happy and they show you their medal. And it's like they didn't win anything. They just finished and they're like
Yeah.
overjoyed. And you're like, you know what? That's what it's really all about.
That's what it's all
Right?
about.
Yeah.
It's setting personal goals for yourself and
Yeah.
achieving them.
Totally.
It's saying, I want to do something. I'm curious. I want to see what my body can do. I want to see what my mind can do. I want to see if I can, do this 5K. And then I want to see if I
Right.
could do a 10K, and then it's like, oh, I'd like to try my first triathlon. You have a lot of those people now. I did a triathlon 25 years ago and now I'm 62, or I want to do this for my 60th or my 65th birthday. And I want to go back to the Chicago Triathlon and I want to do that sprint again. And I want to see what I can do.
Yeah.
It's the personal stuff. And so the medals don't really matter at the end of the
Right.
day. It's bragging rights, but it's more than bragging rights. It's you having that deep sense of contentment and peace inside of you about, hey, I did it. I tried something that was hard for me and I did it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then what do you do with that? Right. Like, how do you take those lessons and then apply them in other aspects
Right.
of your life? Right.
So in closing, why do I still think that those 20 plus years mattered of triathlon and, marathon running marathons, because, triathlon and marathons didn't make me and didn't make you, I think, a better athlete. I think it made me a better therapist. I think I know it made me a better coach. I know it from really
Sure.
a lifetime of being coached. I think it
Yeah.
made me a better wife, mother. You know, I think it's taught us patience. It's taught us diligence. It's taught us discipline. I know that these are the skills and the values. We've taught the skills, and we've also, more importantly, taught the values, handed them down to our children, because you see that those are our family values,
Yeah.
right? I think
Yeah, for sure.
I know it's made me a better leader, not because I learned how to swim faster or to bike harder or bike faster or run longer or run faster, but because I learned how to stay steady when life, in this case, these races got uncomfortable, and they're got uncomfortable. That's a guarantee. Life for all of us is going to get uncomfortable. And here's what, I hope that you all who are still listening in an hour and a half in, this is a long episode today, baby, that you don't have to become a triathlete. You don't have to be a runner. You don't
Yeah.
have to do anything extreme. But I do think that every one of us needs something in our lives that regularly asks of us, who are you becoming? Who are you becoming? Something that does require discipline, patience, resilience, and humility.
Yeah.
Something that reminds you you're capable of more than you thought, and that's the number one thing. You have capacity more than you thought, more than I think you think. I tell my clients, because confidence is not something you're born with. Most of us are not born with that. We're not born with discipline. It isn't something that you can just buy. It isn't something someone else can give you. You can coach them up to, but you can't give your swimmers and your triathletes confidence. You can't give it to
Right.
them, right? It's something you build. One promise, one difficult conversation, one workout, one setback, one ordinary, boring day at a time. So, if this episode resonated for any of you, I'd love it if you'd share with someone who needs to hear it. And they don't have to be an athlete.
Not at all.
Take the lessons from this episode and
Yeah.
apply it to your life. Think about you. Think about what you're dealing with in your life. Maybe it's your personal life, maybe it's for your professional life. Take today's episode and apply it to you in your life, right? And if there's something in your life, maybe it's a sport, a hobby, a career, raising kids, maybe you're caring for aging parents, that has taught you lessons far beyond the activity itself, we would love to hear about it. All right. Please, reach out. Let us know. What have you learned? Where have you gained confidence? Maybe it's got nothing to do with anything we're talking about today. I'd love to hear it. Okay. Thank you. If you're still here, thanks for listening. We, extend mad love to all of you, and hope that this was helpful for you in your life. See you next time.